I know, Ian, and perhaps McIlwee, there is also the impact on insurance cover, where contracts which are being presented as standard form are actually heavily amended, and that has had some ripples into the insurance market.
Absolutely. We're talking particularly about design liability here and professional indemnity insurance. I think one of the key points to get out there is contractors all risk is not contractors all risk. So some of the terminology we use around insurance, it brings a lack of clarity to the way that people manage their risk and support their risk management protocols. Now, I think when we're looking at this sort of this routine amendment of contracts, I think one of the key points to draw out is that if you don't understand your risk, how can you be sure that you're insured for it? We are seeing advice now from the insurance industry, which is coming back to, if you're signing up to amended forms of contract, you should be checking with your insurer that you are covered for the risks that you're signing up to. This is why we've got to get design liability very crystal clear. I think we'll come back to talk about contract design portions, but we've got to start to get these things crystal clear to ensure that we understand the risk we're signing up to and that we're insured. And for clients, this is a really critical point, because it's tantamount to playing Russian roulette with the supply chain. Because if we're giving a contractor design responsibility that they're not insured for, ultimately that responsibility is not insured through the supply chain. If a problem with compliance does materialise in the future, it's going to fall on the specialist contractor, it's going to fall on the main contractor, and ultimately it's going to fall back onto the client because it's not insured, and that business won't be able. Very few specialists would be able to take the full hit on a design issue if they weren't insured for it. So it is like playing Russian roulette with our supply chain. You might be lucky and you may not find a compliance issue. But equally, you may end up with a contractor that's gone under, and that means that all other risks that they're associated with won't be covered in the future. So we are we're playing Russian roulette with the supply chain. I think the other thing to look at is it's not just the cost of compliance. It's not just the risk of compliance. It's the cost of compliance. I think that's the other thing for contractors to bear in mind when they're assuming some of these risks. Is that, if a building control officer in the future comes to us and says, can you prove that? If you've taken that design liability, that cost of compliance falls back onto the specialist subcontractor as well. And with that, the liquidated damages that Ian's been referring to. So I think, this is a real spaghetti of risks all tangled up together. There's the risk of non-compliance and there's the risk of cost of compliance, which all come into this.
And Janey, in your field, you must see the impact of contract amendments perhaps not being understood and then leading to dispute and then having to unravel all of this. So how do you see it from your perspective?
I think it's largely what Len has already said. Contractors are thrilled to think they're going to get a job. They're before told they're in line to get it. But there's some problems with it around the amendments and that, and they expect these things thinking it'll all be all right without actually really looking into it properly and thinking about it when they're changing and when they're for the job. And so some of these things just go through, and then later on it causes problems. So I think there should be. I would like to see more collaboration in the industry of people actually being transparent about what they're doing, and people talking about it, and people discussing it, and finalising agreements and getting into situations that they all know what they are and where the risks lie, and that they're able to accommodate those risks, and the right person is holding the risk. But that's frequently not what happens. So I think that people need to just read the contracts more, as Len said, really think about what they're doing. As Ian says, think, am I the right person to hold this risk, or should I be putting my hand up, and just being a bit more open about it, and then perhaps people would understand that they understand where the risks lie and who can actually carry them and afford them, insure them, or whatever, and the price of the job will go down and the job may run better because of that. And so there'll be less disputes.
Absolutely. And you mentioned there about transparency. Clearly, there needs to be transparency from the client side in terms of why they are asking for amendments or particular risks to go in a particular direction, because it could lead to useful discussion around, well, do you realise the implication of passing that risk down? And perhaps ultimately a better project, as you say, more streamlined, ultimately better value, because when the risk sits where it should actually be, that is what will drive a better value outcome. So the transparency is from all sides.
It is from all sides, yeah, everybody has to be open about it, but somebody has to ask the difficult question. And often people don't want to do that.
And that's essentially a cultural aspect of the industry. I'm on that project, but don't want to rock the boat, but sometimes the boat needs to be rocked.
Yeah.
Yeah.